So it's day 5 of the developer diary. So I got some stuff to show. I'll walk you through it. So to begin with, I have the Colonial Born drop-in home screen where we got the players module, the game master's hub, and lore book. Not sure if it's going to say lore book or rule book. We'll figure that out as time goes on. And then, of course, there's some kind of persistent HUD, like a universal UI that's here. I have they all come directly off of the flow that I had originally laid out in the backgrounds videos. So this is a customization option for the dice, the shop settings, and I added this over here. It got lifted off my Patreon, and I'm not sure if it has a place yet or not, but I was wondering if we needed like a friends panel so that essentially for ensuring that the connections are happening, that people are loading in properly, you might want to have this active thing where you can see who's within range, or if you have to connect to something else, or if it's happening on local Wi-Fi. I don't know because it's a technical consideration, so I put it in there and it may not remain. But after that, we have our loading screen. So the loading screen, I want to put art back here, and I came up with a number of kind of setting specific little story bits to put in here in the loading area. So this will be animated. And there'll be art back there that hopefully connects in with the specific little story bits, kind of Skyrim-esque. After that, we have our players module. So in the players module, we have this is the stat sheet. So actually, before I get to this, before I do the players module, let's look at character selection. So under character selection, my thought was that you would be dropped in on a screen that would say create a new character, would be an option that would be there. I may bury it up in the top corner. I'm not really sure how that's going to work yet, but my thought was that I would have 6 pips here, buttons that take you to the various screens for this specific character. Valhalla Zune is a character from the story. It was the basis of this particular model. So I put this character model in there. I put the character name and then specified their dominant discipline and their species. And then I have the connect to party button down here. My thought was that we could swipe left or swipe right and the pips wouldn't change, but the character and the name would, as well as a kind of thematic background that sits behind it, like a character background that ties to the character. And if you are in an active campaign, the character background may change for that active campaign. So, I mean, I'm not sure how difficult that's going to be for me to maintain on my own, but you never really know how it's going to play out. So I've done this, and the idea is that you would go in and click on something. So for the sake of argument, let's say we clicked on status. So if we clicked on status, that would bring us into the players module. The players module has 2 screens designed already. What I've done is I created the stats screen. I created the combat mode pull down that I had mentioned before. And basically what I thought was kind of what if we went through kind of like the process of derived stats, which, as I've mentioned before in the background video, stats will be derived specifically, or differently, I should say, for every species. So because they're being done differently for every species, I wanted to have a way to be able to just connect these derived stats from the base stats that are available. So we have our base stat, we have our proficiency, and then we have these 3 little slots that can be used to drag pips over from this side. So to use the example of the health pip, if the health pip started here, then D10 is loaded in from the species list, your current age group. The character would be an adolescent at this point in time. And then you would grab this and you could just drag this over and drop it onto strength. And then that would load that proficiency, the +8 over here. And then the character has 8d10 health, which is 80 hit points. And so this is true of for all these various pips that could be drawn over in order to create the stat layout. When you're leveling a character up, of course, you have ability points. Those ability points can be used to increase or decrease stats. And then you can commit those changes by hitting the spend button. I imagine that when a player uses the virtual dice to roll up their character initially, that they're going to be rolling up approximately 8 dice will be carried over from the other screen. And so I figure that the 8 dice will probably fit somewhere in this area. And then you can just drag them over like the pips. And then once you've hit your spend, those will disappear. The values will appear over here and everything will load in. And then you can start your stat assignments. From there, I wanted to do the drop down. So we have our experience and our current and the amount of remaining essence that our character has. And so the idea is that this will constantly go down, so you can see in a very visual way just how close you are to moving into a different stage of your lifespan based on your essence use. And then, of course, when you grab that and pull it down, you will end up with this pull down view, which is showing the same background and character, as well as all of the key stats that matter, such as your hit points, your energy, your parry, dodge, clash, as well as your base stats and proficiencies, move, and actions. And in this view, if you've received damage to any stat or to your hit points or anything like that, it will be tracked in this area, and then there will be like a color shift or a color change to maybe like a red or something like that to indicate that damage has been dealt. There's enough space on the left and on the right that I can easily on the right over here place any kind of active conditions, or if you are currently standing in like fire or something in an object, that these active conditions will be there. And then over on this side, on the left, you'd have any active conditions that you've applied to yourself. So any boons that you are carrying with you. And so those things will be like, little active indicators and stuff that sit on either side. But I was also thinking that if it was truly consistent that, the background could be campaign tied to the campaign, then as you progress through the campaign, you would see this background change. So that would have an impact on what this screen looks like as well. And knowing that I may make changes to this area, I did try and make the HUD fit as closely as it possibly could to create some room. Tried to be purposeful in that way. But of course, that HUD will always remain from every single panel that we go to. So here's the training panel and where I'm at with the training panel. So in this particular case, I did some designs for the cards. I'll go over those in a minute because these aren't the finished ones. But then I have a little drop field here, which is where, of course, you're going to put the cards down. You'll have like a minimized version. If you're on tablet or mobile device, if you press on it and hold it, then you can pick up and move it for sure. But if you just press and hold, you should have like a pop-up that shows you just exactly what the card is, similarly to what's in your hand. My concern was that things would get really onerous, like really, really crazy if I put every single card in your hand. So I have a drop down here, a collapsible menu that allows you to pick between your actions, your opportunities, that kind of thing. This field over here is where I think you should load in your weapon, or if it's a power, it will specify that you are trying to train a power action as opposed to one that connects to a weapon. And then you have your little misfortune stack. On this side, I'm going to create a loadout that's basically what all the things that are on the field will add up, will create an action, and that action will be populated over here, and then will eventually, when you hit train action, will get placed on as a single kind of module into a scrollable wheel of your available actions. And I'm not sure if the plan would then be to have those actions come up as actual cards, or as something that could be flipped through from this position. I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking no, but until the amount of complexity that's involved in this element is proving challenging to design. So that's all of the views that I've got currently made. Getting into the cards, I took the card art, I took the art for the intentions, and I expanded it so that it would fill a whole card area. And then I created all these different versions of cards. And some of this data is actually brought in directly from the sheets. So anyway, the point is it's very quick to realize what kind of intention is attached to a certain type of action. Or a certain kind of card. And then, of course, I don't really have to worry about trying to make, at least I don't think anyway, that I need to make the action cards look different from the opportunity cards to look different from something else. Because I have the collapsible menu that's going to make it so you are only seeing actions, you'll only see opportunities, you're only seeing a card of a certain class. So that's my current thinking. There is the need, however, to create one more card, which I'm going to have to do from scratch. In that I need a card that doesn't have an intention, because in the process of assigning intentions to all these cards, I discovered there's quite a few that have like a null intention. They don't have a specific intention of any kind. I also started exploring what it might look like inside of the players module, like what not the players module, but the rule book basically, and what some of these screens might look like. And by virtue of the landscape orientation of the layout, I debated whether or not to maintain the landscape orientation for the book. I know that it's not the typical way that it's played, but it also occurs to me that if we're on the gaming board and there's a lot of space on the board that's taken up by a player's module or a book, if there's an actual printed version of it, that it actually kind of gets in the way. So an example would be like, when I'm playing with like Pathfinder D&D or something like that, the books are tall and they project out into the middle of the table. And the table is where all the miniatures are set. And so basically it pushes the miniatures farther away from me. So I'm forced to reach more to get to the tabletop. And so if the orientation were landscape and the book opened this way, it might be more space saving, especially if I have the book and then I just have the tablet and that's all I have, which is probably going to be about as wide as I am seated at the table. It might actually be a little bit more space saving for a player. So it's an active thought, and the only way to know is to try it out. And then I also went into some of the ideas behind discipline design and trying to come up with a way. So I reused the pip design, the button, and then I started applying that to some of the flows. So here we have the core martial program, which was one of the disciplines I'd already created. And I tried to put all of the necessary information out on the screen there, load it in and make sure it works like this. And it's fine. It I think will come down to what it looks like in the virtual version, because the virtual version has a slightly different look than the paper version. For instance, a lot of these, like in paper, you want everything to be on white. Whereas in the virtual, you've got something very different. It's more of a white on black than black on white kind of design. And so the question becomes, will this work with a different design consideration? And I don't think I need to worry too much about it right now because the disciplines are way down the road. But anyway, this is the work that's been done so far. I'm at a stage now where I think the next thing I have to do is start getting it into Unity. So I feel rather compelled to finish up this last piece of art that's needed to be able to create this training thing, and then produce at the very least the user interface that leads down to this, and then this, and try and get this working. Because I think if I can get it into the app, I'll get a better sense of what works on the phone, what works in the tablet, what works on desktop. And without experiencing it on its intended device, I feel a little in the dark about whether or not I'm overloading a screen with information. My gut says that this is maybe just a little too nuts. Let me close the training mode there. This is a little too nuts for a phone. And I don't know. The only way to know is to see it on the phone. So I feel compelled to try and move quicker into the virtualization part. So this is day 5. From here, next steps, produce the last little bit for the training module. And then I think I have to carry it over into Unity and see how it looks and feels on a device.